Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Glassman's World. I'm Dan the Glassman, and we are about to get started here and make some more mushrooms and Valentine's Day glass. We got the kiln on, it's all ready to go. And we got enough oxygen and propane for the day. So let's get started here, guys. So how you doing? We are still expecting that crazy winter storm to come in. I don't know what is going to happen or if it's going to really affect us at all here. I really see it just affecting mostly the East Coast and the central part of the U.S. So people in Oklahoma, people in Texas are going to have to really prepare for this, and then those like in New York, up there in by the Great Lakes region, I guess they're talking about exploding trees. That the trees, the xylem inside it, it's going to fill up. Well, it's already filled up with moisture. Because it's been taking in all the moisture, all the water, and it's been unseasonably warm for most of us around here, and so the trees are going to swell whenever you have, that's why you're not supposed to put any liquids in glass and then freeze them, because it'll swell and it'll make that glass break, right? If you put a Coke in the freezer, it normally will explode, it'll expand, and that's because the water molecules, what I was reminded is that when they reach freezing temperatures, freezing states, they actually turn into hexagons. And so the water molecules will form into hexagon shaped patterns, which then form a very strong structure, and which gives the ice its strength. But then, being that it's water, it can break up as well. So that's why ice can break. It doesn't have a strong tensile strength like diamond or nothing, but it's very interesting how it works like that. I was watching a show this morning on how they use the Zambonis, and they scrape the ice off and the water, and they use hot water on top a thin layer to refreeze it quickly. It's really interesting how that works. All right, so my nose is still a little bit congested, so sorry about that. I wanted to share with you guys before we get started here. Wanted to share with you some of the pieces of glass that we had worked on the other day. So one of the first items that we made was the flower for Valentine's Day. And this flower, as you can see, it came out really nice. It has that light blue in the center, and then a really nice blue loop on top. And those are my $10 flowers there. And these hearts, I'm not really sure how much I'm going to do these for, because they're quite simple. This was the first one that we made that day that it took me a while to like really, really get that form and the shape. This one was just yesterday, and making one a little bit smaller so it could be more centered there. I don't know. Which one do you like better? I kind of like the bigger one better. So maybe we'll go in between. And then we worked on that rose that day, if you remember. And that rose, I wasn't really happy with, as I was saying when I was leaving, shutting off the video, and we were all headed out that day. And so this is what it came out to look like. Just this blob of red on top of green. So it doesn't look like a nice rose, even from the side. You can't, it's just really not uniformed at all. That red just kind of blends and blurs in together, and it doesn't make a really nice, decent rose. So what I did And I'll show you the second one that I made first, because the first one came out actually a lot better. So this is the last one that I made yesterday, the second one. And this one here, what I did is I used the same red, but then I fumed it with silver. So I got some of my silver, there's like a little tiny chunk of silver right on the tip there. We put that into the flame, and then we basically evaporate that onto the glass. And so I fumed the red after drawing the red on there, and fumed it to where then you can see a little bit more of the detail in the red there. You can see a little bit more separation, but still it didn't come out. It's still pretty blurry, and I don't like the way the green petals came out like triangles on the ends. Don't really like the way that one came out at all. But this one here, this was the first one that I had made after those. And this one, I used what's called lipstick. So this here is the dark garnet that I've been using. This was the dark garnet, this one as well. But this is called lipstick. Loki's. Let me see if I can show that to you. Loki's lipstick. And so Loki's lipstick, it's got a little bit of a color differentiation. Different. The colors within it are very different. It changes. It's got some metals and things that make it not just a solid red. Differentiates. All right. And so this one here, I believe came out pretty nice. And I saw that center petal there kind of look like a heart shape. I could have put any which way as C. I could have hung it in any which way. But I saw it was almost like a heart shape there. So I put that hanging. It should have been a little bit more over, but a little bit crooked of a heart there. But I think that one came out really nice. The way the greens came out behind it, and the way the fuming, I also fumed this one with the silver. So you can see it kind of looks like it's glowing there. So this one, I believe, came out really beautiful, especially compared to the other one. And the way that I drew the green on there, it came out a lot better compared to the way that I kind of haphazardly drew these ones on, and didn't really get it into the, like, I did a curve and then a point and then back down and then the curve for this one. And this one I just kind of went rant and made like a U shape, and didn't really get that full detail. So it could have been better. So maybe we'll work on a rose today and see if I can perfect these. And I also want to make a whole bunch of mushrooms, especially some red ones. And I also want to see what the red, the Loki's lipstick, what that looks like as a mushroom here. Being that it's Valentine's coming up, I figure red mushrooms will probably also be a good seller. So let's make some. And looks like I've only got a little bit more glass rod. I only got 2 more 5-foot rod, and then I need to get another case of glass soon. And hopefully I can get the case of glass before prices start going up, if they haven't already. All right, so we're just gonna push a regular red mushroom first, and that way we can see the difference between the dark garnet red compared to Loki's lipstick red, and then we can see whether there's any color differentiation. I cannot say that word right at all. All right, so this is the red garnet here. I do believe I hear our son just woke up. So my wife may be waking up here soon, but her caregiver's here, so I won't have to rush off and do breakfast or anything, I don't think. All right, so we'll just push that. You get the clear glass molten. Get your stringer there. I like to let that stringer kind of hang out there in the bottom for a minute, and then really give it a nice push in there. And we're going to stretch out some of this red, so we're going to utilize um, the way that this is stuck onto the rod here, the 16 millimeter rod. I'm just going to heat up some of the color, and we're going to pull this. And create another stringer here. So I like to use the glass that I'm working with, and you know, I just have to make sure I don't allow the mushroom to cool down and then crack right away. So I definitely got to make sure I keep that nice and warm. So we just always keep the heat on it, make sure it's not going to crack. And now I got a really nice stringer to work with. And then I guess we could do that real quick with Loki's lipstick. And we'll just attach it to the bottom of the mushroom here. And we'll pull another stringer real quick before we melt that all down. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I'm Dan the Glassman. If you don't know who I am, I'm a local glass artist here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I basically just stream my glass whenever I'm working, usually. Not all the time, but a lot of times when I'm working, you'll be able to see the things that I'm working on for the week, for the day. And you see the difference there? See how it's red and then that's clear? Alright, we'll make sure we get it off. Now we got Loki's lipstick there. Let's melt this air bubble out. Start from the top, work your way down, or from underneath where this is all get pushed into, and then work your way back out to the end of the rod there. I always say to the bottom because that's going to eventually be the bottom of the mushroom pendant. So these are my original $5 mushrooms. I sell these retail for $5. They're really nice, and you could actually retail these for about $7 to $10 individually. Anyone who's interested in getting these at wholesale, any shop owners, anyone who would just like to sell these on the side and make a little side hustle, you're more than welcome to get them. Anyone is welcome. You don't need a wholesaler license or permit or anything like that. Just contact me and I'll get you the pricing when you purchase $100 or more. So these I wholesale by themselves without tying up a string, a 2 millimeter cord on them, for $2 each. 50 for 100. Or if you want them tied up, it's $1 per cord, or basically 150 for 50 of them. So $3 each if you get the 2 millimeter cord, and only $2 for just the glass alone. So for jewelry supply shops and bead stores, things like that, they would want these just by themselves and not with the cord, because they would be able to string them up themselves, you know. Although it's, you know, for only $1 extra, it's really worth it to have me tie it up than spending the time to have to tie it and get your own material and everything. So if you want them ready to go and tied up, let me know. So then we pull this, and then we'll bring the loop around. We'll figure out where we want the front of that mushroom to face, and then I always pull that towards the front first and bring it back around to the back side. That's where we'll clean that up here. A lot of glass coming from like China and other places, they will make it where it's pretty much done at that point, and they don't really seal it in and allow it to become one and fuse it all together. And so I want to always make sure that my loops are really nice and strong, and they shouldn't break. They shouldn't go anywhere. Some loops are a little bit more fragile than others, like the ones on my glass balloons, or ones that I add on to the tops, like these bales here, that are really a lot bigger. Um, then, you know, they're a little bit more fragile because the glass that's added on, it's a bigger, chunkier piece. Whereas these ones, it's pulled from the body and all one piece. All right, and then just snap that off. That's a done deal. Usually make these in 5 minutes or less. I used to make these closer to about 3 minutes each, but I don't know what happened to my timing on these. But that's a done red mushroom right there. Perfect red for Valentine's. Now let's make the Loki's lipstick here. Here, I'm just going to push these off. They're not hot. I'm just going to make room for the hot glass on the table here. And let's see what the Loki's lipstick looks like. I do like the way it came out as that flower. This flower came out really nice. And compared to the red that we have here, this one, and this one came out all right too, but I think that other one came out with a lot more detail. It looks beautiful. Look at that. So we're gonna attempt to make one of those today as well. We'll see if we can make another rose, and then maybe we can also make a different style flower as well. Also, we should make just a regular flower with the Loki's lipstick and see how that looks for the petals. Alright, so we just always preheat the tip just a little bit, and then just set that right in the center there. And then I'm always spinning the glass, spinning, letting that just kind of settle in there, and then I push. And it allows that color to really just like kind of formulate all together there. It just helps the mushroom to get pushed and the mushroom cap to come out really nice. I don't know how else to explain it. Allowing it just it umbrellas out a lot wider, a lot bigger. My mushrooms come out pretty clean every time I push them like that. Another way though too is just pushing it in, holding it there for a second and pushing it in a lot harder and getting that mushroom to push really nicely. I don't know, there's something about just waiting a moment, allowing it to just conglomerate right in that bottom section there, and then push it all in, and it just umbrellas out real nice. All right, we'll melt the air bubble out of this one now. Focusing the flame on the top of the mushroom cap mostly, and then slowly edging our way down, like we're talking a millimeter, half a millimeter at a time, and then slowly working our way down to the bottom, bringing the heat to the bottom. Once you see that all that air bubbles move down, then you can really start melting the bottom and get that rounded. And then you can see that mushroom is in there. It's glowing. And we'll get it on the punchy here. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's in there. Looks like it's translucent. Those colors should pop back out. Add the punchy. I got a cup of tea over here with a spoon and it keeps on getting in the way. It's like almost at the perfect height. I don't know if you can hear that. Keeps getting in the way. I need to move it. I need to drink it and move it. All right, let me just pull that and get it nice and hot, then stretch it, and then allow it to get to that thick. Uh, I normally stop pulling when it reaches a good like 3 to 4 millimeters thick. We could actually check it and see about where that is. Oh, what are we on? Inches? Okay, let's do that again. Yeah, like 4 millimeter, 4.2. So like I was saying, like between like I was saying 3 to 4 millimeters, about 4.5 millimeter. I guess, and it'll thicken up some. At this point, you bring that back down, melt it to the body of the mushroom. Use your reamer to open it up. If you see it like moving in any way that it shouldn't be, you want to make sure you keep this nice and straight, you know? So you can always just use the side of your reamer to keep it straight. When the glass melts, it may want to like start moving from to one side or the other. It'll start to lean, and so you always want to straighten that out. And then looking at it head on, upward. I go in and pull upward, and that helps. It's kind of like pulling a rope taut, and it's making it nice and straight. It's pulling it straight upward. So it gives it that nice teardrop effect. Now we'll see how this Loki's lipstick looks. I don't really think it looks too good in here. Trying to see it come out. Do I have to reheat the whole thing in order to get that color to come back? Alright, well, I got a lot of the mushroom stem to heat up. Let's see what that does. Alright, and as we're waiting for that to cool, this red one is pretty much cool already. The red looks beautiful. It's just a nice solid red. It's a translucent red though, not an opaque red. We do have the crayon red and the cherry red. But I think the translucent, the dark garnet, I really love the color of that. And I used to use ruby from North Star a lot, the North Star glass. I would use ruby a lot. Oh yeah, let's drink this tea. Let's get this tea out of the way. Might need to add some more water to it. Fancy. Got the tea ball in there, drinking some Tulsi holy basil tea with some ginger lemongrass mixed in it. Got it from the Amrit Baptist temple in Chino Hills, California. But I bought it many years ago. But tea, you know, if you keep it airtight, locked in, fresh, it's still good. It's just plant material. You're not going to lose much of it, although it's not going to be like fresh, but it's still just dried tea leaves, you know. All right, we're going to make a flower real quick. And instead of adding the blue in the center, maybe we'll add a little bit of this purple here. We'll do a little purple center. I forget what color this is. Alright, we'll just get that in the center there. And then once we have that in the center, then we can add some of the red. And usually you should bring your flame down. I'm just going to try to use the same flame that I've been working and just really use the edge of the flame so I'm not melting the color too much, so I don't lose control of it. Always drawing the line and then pushing down at the end of the petal to really get that petal to thicken up. And let's see if I can move some of these petals over. This one looks like if it's just over a little bit, it'd be a little bit better with the placement. So that's the one thing about glass is you can always just move it over before you really set it in and really get it melted. You know, I mean, sometimes you might already have it locked into a place where you can't move it around too much. But, you know, I can grab these petals and just really shift them over and get them to line up a little bit better where I want them to be. All right, so then we got that all nice and straightened out with that center purple dot. And we just melt that all down. And just allow the color glass to sink into the clear. So we're keeping the heat around the rim, the edge of that clear glass, and then getting that red to just sink into it as well. And like I was saying, you know, you would usually want to bring your torch down, the flame down, so that way you got a little bit better control over things. So I did draw it a little crooked on one. And had I brought the flame down, it might have been a little bit better of a drawing process for me. And then that's done there. Now, if I wanted, I could add some dots to the back. You know, I could add white little dots on the petal of each one or something like that. But Oh, thank you. I'm wondering actually what that would look like, and now I'm like, should I or should I not? Let's just keep it as is. I guess I'm being told breakfast is ready. I didn't know that having breakfast made. Smells good. All right, so then we're just gonna attach the punty, get in front of the pendant here in front, and do a flame cut. We're gonna get this pendant removed from the rod here, keeping that flame just focused right in between there, the center. And we'll just start to pull that and slowly stretch it apart. And then I'll just heat up this. I'll make sure this is nice and rounded so that way there's no seams or any kind of any way that it might accidentally crack or pop on me. As you can see, I'm still spinning it with my left hand, making sure that none of the molten glass starts to droop down and become off center. As I'm working this one, always spinning this one. These are now short enough I can probably bring these two rods together. And then we have another portion of a rod in here we can start using. And then I'll pull off a little bit of this clear glass here and put it into the scrap container on the floor, which is just a large coffee can basically. And we'll heat up the tip. We'll get this all nice and rounded and molten here. And then we'll be able to see the flower through the front, and it'll be all big and magnified. And we'll be able to see how that purple looks surrounded by the red. So right now it looks like this. And I'm just going to keep that flame right there on that front face of it. And we'll get it to all become smooth and melt down and get rounded here. I'm keeping the flame away from the back side of the pendant. So I'm doing my best to just use the edge of the flame and not allow the flame to flash around the back side of the pendant and fuse itself to the punty here. I want to make sure it breaks off nice and clean. If it becomes fused, then it won't break off clean and there'll be a big old chunk or something. So yesterday I was watching a video on YouTube, a documentary. It was like an hour and like 40 or 50 minutes long. I didn't think I was going to sit through it all. Some others in the comments also said the same thing. They're like, oh, we'll probably just watch a little bit of it and check it out. And ended up watching this whole thing on a documentary of miniatures. Miniatures are the big time thing, and what's cool is that they were going into the history of miniatures and why miniatures are so fascinating, why individuals are drawn to them, and just, from the beginning of our lives, as we're children, we're basically brought up playing with miniatures, with little toys um, that represent things in our life. And so I find that fascinating, like girls with their dollhouses, and then all the little miniatures that are within there. And it's fascinating to know that there's actually professional dollhouse builders and miniature artists that make a plethora of different types of miniatures. And I, as well, have made miniatures. And so I plan to make some miniatures here really soon. Check that out. That purple came out from that. Looks like a baby blue in the camera. So yeah, the miniatures is a huge ordeal. They were showing so many things, like people replicating um, the insides of classrooms that they once were in, and homes that they once lived in, and historical places. And a guy who he is recreating photos of scenes of miniature towns in the background with his cars, his die-cast models that look like real, like, I don't know what it was, 1/12 the scale or something like that. I'm not sure what he was working on, but it was pretty amazing to watch this. So I'm going to do some miniature videos coming up soon, and making that I'd like to remake again is the only miniature set that I've ever sold, which was a full-on glass Pyrex uh, cookware set that is fully functional, that can withstand the heat because it's actually borosilicate glass, and you could actually like, I don't know if you ever got into the miniature universe, China universe, miniature universe on YouTube and things like that, where like Pinterest, probably on Twitter also, there's probably groups of individuals who do nothing but miniatures, and they do like cooking shows where they cook with their miniatures. And so people can actually utilize my glassware. And they use like little matchsticks, and inside ovens that are so tiny, and they literally cook on them. They bake cookies and cook hamburgers and like all this stuff. I made a full-on cook at once and sold it for $50. They had a skillet, a glass skillet. The first item that I made was a little miniature measuring cup, and I probably have all of this documented on my channel here somewhere. If I can go back and remember to add the link onto this video, maybe if you guys can remember, comment below and let me know, hey, where's that miniature video you were talking about? And then I'll be like, oh yeah, and then I'll put it on there, because I always forget to do these things. That's why I go live, because I don't really do any editing. I don't have the time with my life and having to take care of my wife and the family and everything that goes on, and all the work, all the side jobs I try to do. I don't have time to do all the editing, and I don't really remember. See how I was saying you don't want to fuse that on there? That took a little bit more of a break, and you can see the punchy mark there. Well, I don't know if you can or not, but that's what we have to melt off on the bottom there. That little knob little bump there. We're gonna melt it in to the rest of the back of the pendant here and just make it all nice and smooth again. And so at this point, all that red, all the color is going to fade away, go back to translucent. The purple's opaque, so that purple will stay there. So now you can see how it just all goes completely opaque. And as it cools down, then the color just slowly like comes back. Like magic. Isn't that cool? Alright, we'll just put this here. We'll drop... Oh, actually the kiln's on. What am I talking about? We'll drop this in the kiln. Forgot I had the kiln on already. Right. And these should be cool enough to look. So this was the first red one that we made today. And then this is Loki's lipstick. And Loki's lipstick almost looks like an amber purple, kind of. If I did an amber purple push, it would kind of look like that. So that's interesting. But the red definitely is it's a nice mushroom. I don't know if it looks better just without my hand in the background or not. Alright. So let's make a heart. I'm going to step away for one quick second and see what is going on with breakfast. And I'll just make something real quick and I'll add some hot water to my tea. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, there was some French toast made, which is awesome and lovely. Where my bread was, because I have regular seeded bread, and my wife does gluten-free bread. So, they just made the gluten-free bread, I believe, which is fine because I'm not ready to eat yet, anyways. Okay, let's have some tea. Cheers. It's got honey in it as well. I just added a little bit of some warm water to it. I was talking about how I needed to drink it and move it out of the way, and now I just put it right back in the same spot. Alright, let's get the glasses back on. And let's make... I guess let's try to make a rose again. I wanted to show you guys how I make a rose. And then we'll call it a day. It's about 45 minutes in. I try to keep my videos at an hour, give or take. You know, with glass blowing, you can't really make short videos unless you do the whole clipping and then you can, like, you know, show a 2-hour video in like 2 minutes, you know, and cut it down extremely and just go from beginning, middle, and end. Are we still live here? Okay. My screen was it was like trying to time out or something there. All right, so I think what I might do is I might fuse these together real quick and then let them show. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to fuse glass together, if you're ever low on glass and you come down to these points where you can't really work them anymore, you can get both ends of the glass hot, and you want to get them both to the same molten state. So I kind of go back and forth and have one hot and get the other one hot and slowly bring them in. This one with the point needs a little bit more work than the other one, so I'm going to really focus on that. Also, because it's skinnier, it takes that heat in more. But this is going to melt down and become a little rounded point here. And I don't know if you notice that, but sometimes I'll spin it backwards the other way, the opposite way, and it'll come back to me and then go away from me and then come back to me. Sometimes that helps. Or I'll rock it just like back and forth sometimes. If it's higher in one spot, I'll try to like round it down and get it centered. So those are little tricks. And it's all about just filling the glass and seeing like, oh, okay, I need to like maybe slow it down a little bit there and get it into shape. And you can see this one's almost rounded down to the rod. You see that? And this one is pretty much rounded down, but we need to get this molten now so they can start matching each other. You definitely want to get these rods melted all the way down to where they're rounded on the tips. So this one's pretty much there. Just like that. It could have used a little bit more, I can see, but that's good. And then we're going to round this other one up. And we're going to get both of the tips all nice and rounded and get them molten. And then we're just going to twist them, spin them at the same rate. So you can see my thumbs are kind of moving at that same kind of bounce, 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 right? So basically you're trying to match the spins in your hand. And we're just going to go back and forth, get the tips molten, and get the tips super molten. They're getting white hot right here. And 3, 2, 1, and bring them together in the flame. Hold them together, spin them at that same rate, push them together a little bit to where it kind of like bulbs up on you some. Like that. So it gets rounded, and then you just can pull it back a little bit. You can also use if you have a marbling tool, or you can go to your pad And you can round it down like that, smashing it down on both ends. And then you just want to make sure that that's nice and straight. And if you want to have that flatter, you can go in. I'm going to try to make it super to where it looks like there's hardly any seam that it was never there before. So I'm just going to go on the marving tool here. I'm just going to push it down nice and hard. And bam, just like that. And then you just keep it. And you can see the seam. I mean, it's there. But that looks pretty clean. And then I'll take it probably from the sharp end. I'll use that. And when we melt it, I'll be holding it in the center though, where it's hot right now. And then I'll be able to melt that into different items here. So then we just put this off to the side here. And we'll allow the carbon graphite to absorb that heat out of the rod. And we'll just leave that there on the side, and we'll grab another rod here to work with. So like I said, I had another half of the rod here. That's a 2-foot rod that we're going to start with, and we'll make something. Oh yeah, we were going to do a rose, right? And then we were going to call it a day. I did want to make a heart. I wanted to make one more heart in here. So let's do that real quick. So this video will probably go for about an hour and a half. We're almost an hour in right now, 50 minutes in. Let me get some tea real quick. Tulsi basil. Holy Tulsi basil. So to make the heart, we're just gonna do a simple flat back again. Melting the tip here, flattening it down onto the pad, the graphite pad on the table here. And then make sure it's flat. This thing is so long that I'm resting the end on my thigh right now, as I'm holding the upper edge, the upper portion of it. You can see how long that is. I don't know. All right, and then we'll get the red here. Oh, I forgot that I already melted that. Is there another red I can use? I just touched my thumb right there to that hot glass. I think that's some dark garnet. Okay, cool. You just saw me burn myself. People ask me all the time, do you ever burn yourself? Yep, still do. 30 years later. It happens. Alright, now I gotta figure out how I can prop this in a way where I can draw on here. Alright, so we're going to go one side, go up top kind of high, and then down, and pull. And let's just pop that down real quick like so. And we'll get the other side. So you just round it back up. You can get the other side of the heart, round it. Touch and pull. Man, that hurt. Yep, after 30 years, it still hurts. Got it right on my knuckle, too. Looks alright, though. Can't even tell. And we just kind of force that down a little here and there. Give it the nice, beautiful shaping that this heart should have. Down. And then, let's see. Maybe we grab it just on the tip and pull it down just slightly. And voila. Can I even show you? I have to come all... Jeez. I don't know if I can show you. I'll come through this way. Alright, there it is. Alright, now we'll melt that down. Let's move these cords out of the way so I'm not moving things. Now, you could actually leave that raised up to where someone could feel the heart on there. You could leave it relieved and keep that on the front, which is really awesome, actually. And I may do that on this one. So then it's going to be a reversal to where instead of rounding that backside, we're going to have to flatten it when we cut it off the rod. That's the only difference. I'm just going to make sure it's all nice and sunk in around all edges. And I'm going to give it a quick flattening just to make sure everything is attached and secure, but still popped up, and that looks great. So we're going to keep it relieved, popped up like that. And then we're going to write, I love you. Just kidding. That would be hard to do. But it can be done. You can write on the end of the glass, and then you can sink it all in like an implosion. And you can make really tiny lettering. It's how I did this 2026 pendant right in front of us here. Watch, I'll show you. Let's see if I can let go of this and show that. As you can see, the 2026 is so tiny on there. I did not write it that small. I wrote it a lot bigger and then shrunk it down with the heat, just applying the heat directly to the center, and it just brings it in a pinpoint, and that's how you can write 2026, or you can write anything on a piece of glass. But it's, you're very limited to how much you can write. It's not very easy to write in glass. And then if you're going to be looking at it through the backside and through the front, You're going to have to learn how to write backwards, and all your lettering has to be backwards in order to read it the right side up through the front. So like I said, we're going to turn this, instead of rounding it on this side like we normally do, we're going to flatten this. So we're going to really heat this up, and then we're going to utilize the punty to help us with flattening this down. So we'll just flame cut that off. And let's move this piece of plastic out of the way so we don't melt anything. And I will take off a lot of that as well, like we do with all the other ones. That way we don't have so much to have to work with. I'll put this in the trash can here, or the coffee can. And just grab our tweezers. I think these are like 9-inch tweezers. They're just like, I don't know, I guess stainless steel or something. Or whatever, I don't know what they are. Industrial grade. Alright, so now we're gonna heat this up. And then this way, if you want to wear it either way, reversal, we won't keep it rounded. Alright, so we're going to get this nice and molten. And then we're going to just start to flatten it here. And it's good to learn how to become ambidextrous to where you can spin with both your left and your right hand, so that way I have control better with my right hand. So when I'm flattening this, I want to have the control. But for spinning this, I'm using my left hand entirely. And that way I don't have to put this down and then hold it with the right hand and go back and forth and back and forth. Now I'm going to try to round it and flatten this side to where it kind of just looks like a coin. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. So you can wear it now to where this is the front, or it can be relieved with that side still sticking out. So either way, you can wear it whichever way you'd like. And try to flatten this up just a little bit more. Alright, now I just put the loop on top. Let's find our clear glass here. And then we'll work on that flower. And I just form the loop around the top here. And usually I'm going the opposite way, so this is interesting. But that'll work. Now I just got to clean this up to make it look like you can wear it both ways, so you can't tell which way the loop is supposed to be facing. It's almost there. Just a little thick right there, so I'm trying to thin that part out, wrap it around. Oh yeah, that's looking good now. And just make sure that it's nice and sturdy, nice and thick. Alright, I think I'm good with that. So that's how the loop looks there. So where you can wear it either which way. I might sink it down a little bit just to make the hole a little bit smaller and make the whole entire loop a little bit more stronger. And bring it in on this side of the flame as well. There we go. That looks good. Alright, so that hole's a lot smaller now and it's a lot more stronger, more sturdy. All right, let's work on a rose and then we'll call it a day. I'll probably be working, but I don't want to keep you guys here for the whole day for hours and hours and hours. So then we just heat that up right on top of that heart there and make sure I don't have any punty mark on that heart, and we also don't want to sink it in and melt it all down. But you do want to be able to feel it and have that 3D heart on the front right there. So that's sticking out on the front so you can feel it now. I'm noticing that this loop looks a little crooked to me. So I'm going to heat it up on this side here. Alright. That looks better to me. It was a little crooked, so I had to get that right. But there you go. There's a heart, relief heart right on top there. Hey, what's going on? I see True Indica here long time ago. You're learning the heart pendant. Awesome. So there's a simple one, but with relief, and then you can wear it reverse as well. So you can also wear it like that, or you can wear it with the relief on the back side. All right, I'm gonna get this in the kiln here before I drop it. Okay, so we're gonna do one more. This is the rose, and this is kind of difficult here. It's even difficult for me. We're also gonna try to, I don't know, should we do, I don't really like the way that the red came out. Maybe a heavier silver fuming. I really like the way this one came out. This is the Loki's lipstick, and this is the red with this, and they both have the silver fuming, but that red just like did not really like come out compared to the way that one looks. So I'm not sure. Maybe we should try the red again. Okay, let's do this. So you guys ready? You got your thinking caps on? I don't know why you need to think about anything. I think this weather is interesting. All right. So I want to work one. Is this cool enough yet? I may want to do it on a smaller rod. It's a little warm. I guess I can work that. Alright, so we're going to gather 16 millimeter rod here. And I made a few other pendants. This one was one I made yesterday. And I just made a couple more, or at least one more today. I put a purple dot in today's, so it looks a little bit better than this one. This one's got that light blue in the center. This one came out nice. And I have another heart pendant here. Yesterday's. And that's the rounded front, flat back. The one I just did is completely flat on the front and flat on the back. This one's rounded on the front right here, and then it's flat on the back side, on this side, where we draw all the patterning. So that's why that other one took a little bit longer, was because I was flattening it in a different way. Oh man, that's, yeah. I feel for you. I don't know how cold it is where you're at, but here in the States, um, they're expecting like some horrendous cold front to come through, push through, and a lot of pipes to freeze and burst. And they were even talking about trees up there, like by the Great Lakes, exploding because I guess the water that they're retaining is gonna like do a flash freeze, and uh, when ice freezes, it swells up. So I guess the trees are gonna be swelling and then bursting from the inside out, or something ridiculous. That's what they were reporting. They're talking about like widespread power outages, possibly cell phone outages because of, I don't know, towers freezing, wires freezing. It's kind of crazy. All right, so I'm gathering a pretty big sized marble on this here. I would say like maybe almost double the size of what the rod is. Definitely less, but about that much or so. Just basically turning the 16 millimeter into like maybe like a 20 mil, adding like an extra 4 mil on each side thickness. So something like that. It's a nice round marble there. And then we're gonna get the tip of this nice and hot. And we're gonna allow that to flatten, but not all the way. As we kind of want like a funnel kind of shape. We wanted to taper out. So I'll use my marving tool here and we'll just spin it and flatten it on the edge. And so kind of want it like that there, where it's flattened on the tip, but then it's flat. It's got the sides flat as well, not just round it. I'm gonna heat up the tip one more time. We're gonna really get this nice and flat, and this will become our drawing surface. Maybe I should just do 2-hour lives. I don't know. It always seems like once I'm about to go, that's when people start coming in. About an hour in, and then they're like, oh, he's live. Okay, so now we've got our red and it's pulled out. We're gonna go real small with the flame to have some real good control here. We're gonna make a C in the middle as best as we can. Just put a little line there and then make a C, and then flatten that down, a little tip there, and then we've got ourselves a little tiny C there, right? Now we're going to go on the opposite side and we're going to come around here. I don't know if you can see or not. the opposite way and close off the C. Oops. Don't want it on top of it. You definitely want to have space in between your color. Not allow them to touch. We're going to do an implosion. So we're just going to spin this around nice and gently and stop about halfway around. Push down the little knob once you cut it off. Always push it down. So now you got the C around the C. And if you can make that tighter and smaller, then please do. It's getting harder and harder for me to see things. But I also want to make sure I get nice spacing on this. And go around that one and close it off. Push down your little knob. Now, we're going to go in between those two lines and let me see where that red is. Okay. And we're just going to like kind of close off the circle, but leaving the spacing in between so they don't attach. So something like that. And then wherever those gaps are, we're going to just wrap the red over that gap, wrap the red over that gap, then wrap one here. And then there may be a few gaps to then wrap around those. So draw a little line over that gap and then stop. And then start again pretty close to where that one is. And wrap it around past that gap. And then there's no gap to cover on this side, but you just kind of draw that line around again, leaving those gaps. And these are basically lines that are going to sink in and become the petals of the rose. So, you know, the way that a rose is kind of wrapped around itself, you know, it kind of has this, like, the way it wraps, you know, it does this thing with, like an onion does, you know. So now we have these lines all drawn around in this way. And we're going to sink all this in. And I'm wondering if I should do any more just on the three, just a couple little tiny ones right on the edge. Flatten it down. Go over to this side. And right now I'm drawing on the edge of the glass. I'm doing my best to not overlap it on any of that other red that's there already. And this edge is going to come in to the center. So now, as you can see, just added those reds on the very edge right there. Now we're going to heat this up. We're going to add some silver. And get this all nice and warm. And let's see where that silver is. Gonna fume some silver, so I'm gonna stop talking now so I can stop breathing in for a minute. Take a deep breath, and then I'm gonna start to fume. Even though I have ventilation, I still do this all the time to just be 100% safe. Alright, and then I just wait for the air to kind of do a little exchange, let all that air get out. So now that's all fumed on top of the red there, and we're simply going to start to sink all this in. And as we do so, we'll make sure that we guide all this glass and make sure that it stays down, that it doesn't bubble up any. Keep it nice and flat on the glass. But we don't want to force it into the glass. We want it to sink into it with the flame. We're just going to help it from like rounding up and getting like, you know, turning into like a round ball instead of staying flat. I wish I would have pulled that one a little bit further, and I don't know if I should right now after it's already been fumed. But I'm always about manipulating the glass, and why not? Let's see what we can do. I'm just gonna grab it and stretch it. Little push and pull right there, force it over, make it a little bit longer. All right. Hey, what's going on? Austin's here. Or maybe you have in last days. What? Did you type something else that didn't come through? What's going on? So we're doing a rose right now, and the way that it came out before, I didn't really like it, so we're doing another attempt. We'll see if this one comes out any better. But this one, I think, came out pretty fire. Alright, so we're just going to do an implosion. We're just going to sink all these lines in. We just start it with a C-shaped pattern and then work our way around it, just drawing line after line in this stagnated pattern, keeping spacing in between, and all of this is just going to sink in and hopefully become a rose. That is the plan. That's what we're hoping for. So there's going to be some fuming on the side. You definitely want to go with a little bit hotter of an oxygenated flame and really just slow down your spin and allow that heat to just burn through all of that silver fuming and turn it back to just clear glass again. And it might take a minute. Just be patient with it. You'll see it start to fade away some, and eventually it'll just break through, and then you'll just see it all nice and clear. And just follow that flame around and get nice and molten again. And that's going to create a nice line around your rose also. which will like highlight it real nicely. So you want to get this whole thing nice and molten, so then it can all just kind of move in. So I'm just getting that outside hot, and then we can get into the center here, and I'm gonna hold it at like a 45-degree angle downward towards the face of the flame, and allow it all to just kind of sink into itself, into the center. And this is when it all just slowly starts to like sink in, and just it'll start to squeeze into itself. So when you're doing writing, this is when those letters become really small, and people will be like, whoa, how did you write that? How'd you get it so small? But you got to draw the things out all chunky like the way this looks, and then it's just going to sink in and get smaller and smaller and smaller. So this whole round up, and instead of it being flat like it was, it's going to kind of just round itself out to where then you can re-flatten it, and you'll be able to bring what was on the edge into the center as well. Alright, I'm going to use the paddle here, and we're going to just give it a nice flatten to equal out where all the glass is, and try to get it centered again. And then we'll just do the same thing again. So now we've brought it back to that shape that it was before pretty much, but then we're just going to bring it back down again until all the glass that's on the edge becomes down onto the bottom here, and all of that becomes shrunk in into a small little center. You got a new job jarring flowers in Wayne? What? Indoor greenhouse, supplemental lighting, and collect rainwater. Nice. Best you've seen in 20 years. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Especially using the rainwater and recollecting it. The only issue with that, I don't know if you guys are filtering it first or what. Even though it's rainwater, it still collects all the stuff from the sky and whatever the airplanes are leaving behind, and then, you know, there's stuff on the roofs and in the rain gutter and things like that. But a natural filtration system is just as good. Some sand, some rock, some charcoal. So this takes a minute. It's just being patient with allowing the glass and the heat to do its thing, and just allow it all to just sink in. And we're gonna get that to implode inside, and hopefully with the silver wrapped around all of that, we should be able to see definitive petals within the rose. And then it won't look all mashed out like this one here. That's just not, it's just a blob of red. Even though we did all that work and did the whole wraparound and everything, it's just a blob of red. Finally, a job I can like. Easy look at. Oh, okay. Of course, reverse osmosis. Nice. Got holding pond, so rad. They have a roof can open like safe co-field. I don't know what that means. So they have full lights and just happen to open the roof. Oh, they can open the roof. What? So you can bring the sun in or you can have it enclosed? That's dope. That sounds like a cush job right there. I know I could probably go get a job being a trimmer out with the dispensaries here because we're completely recreational and there's all kinds of different places that I'm sure are hiring. But I normally only do side jobs that can pay me at least a minimum of 20 bucks an hour on the side. But probably like I try to get the $30 an hour jobs, which you get all the time with yard work and land jobs at 30 bucks an hour. But that's a fun job. It's a cush job. Yeah, it's totally recreational. 21 and over, it's recreational. We can walk around with two O's easy. But they gotta be like from the dispensary and like there's some little rules that apply. Okay, so now that I got all these colors wrapped around, I'm gonna get rid of this silver here. Make sure we just got that red right there. Yeah, here in the state of New Mexico in the US, we are recreational. 100%. Legit. But being that this is a worldwide streaming platform, not everywhere has the same rules and laws, so I can't just get away with doing things here. Are we still live? That thing keeps spinning. All right, and now let's see if we can draw that green line on the sides and get the little petal actions going. I don't know why that's spinning. We're live here, right? I don't know. Maybe my computer's about to shut down on me. Alright, I'm trying to do this and that line wasn't too good. Oh, that's better. Okay. Just had to bring the line up from the other side, I guess. Alright, so now we added some green going around it. And trying to do line patterns like that there. So it's like a triangular kind of wavy up and down pattern. I think we're still live, right? You guys still with me? As this says it's streaming, I think we're still going. Maybe I won't see the comments until this thing catches back up or whatever. I don't know what's happening. That green one needs to come in just a little bit. way it's not just floating out there on the side. Alright, well, we'll see what that looks like. Okay, yes, awesome. So we are still streaming. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. My screen is still just spinning out over here on me. So I appreciate you letting me know. I'll just keep on going with the flow here because I see the camera's still going. I thought maybe it like overheated or something, but usually then everything like stops, the screen goes, doesn't even like say goodbye or nothing. Just leaves me hanging. Alright, so now we're just gonna melt this all down again. Now we got to get the green around from the side to the whole back. And that's why I draw that on the edge, and I sink in the rose first and then draw that in, so we're not sinking it all in together. And hopefully this works out. The rose looks cool from back here, but from the front we won't know until we finally can take it off the rod and melt it down and round it and really take a look at it. Alright, so you're just going to heat this up, flatten it down again, trying to bring all that color to the back side. It's getting there. Alright, so one of these I have drawn really pointy, the green lines, which are going to be like petals underneath the rose. So the green lines, one of them's really pointy, the other two are kind of flat. And wanted to see like what the difference would be, what it looks like at the end. So definitely one of these green ones is going to stick out probably a little bit more than the other, a little bit more prominent. But we'll see just how much. Alright, looks like they're all on that backside now. So now I can just go around, heat it up, and keep sinking it in just a little bit more. And at this point, we're going to also heat up the whole pendant, so it's going to kind of shrink in just a little bit, so it's not too big, not too wide. That way when I add the blue on the back, I won't have to add too much. So when I add it, I'm going to have to add like a glop of it and then flatten it onto the back side of this here. Alright, hopefully this implodes the flower, all those petals, with all the silver, and hopefully we can see a really nice rose come through here with all this work that's involved. I'm really hoping for it. But that's part of the whole thing. You know, I've been doing these and making them for years, and for some reason it's just not coming out. And I'm thinking it's because before I was using the ruby red and not the dark garnet. I think the ruby may have a little bit of silver in there or something that allows a little bit kind of striking color to come out. And I'm happy you're here as well. Thank you so much, True Indica. Appreciate you. So this is nicely sunk in now. We got those lines. They look a lot smaller than how I drew them. As you remember, it was pretty much as big as the the width of this, going around the edge of it here, and now we've sunk it in to where it's only that much right there, all within that little tiny circle there. All those lines are now just that. A lot of clear glass all around where that green is and everything, so we were able to really shrink it down, and now it's ready for the cobalt blue on the back here. Let me just make sure this is nice and flat. Alright, and then we get the blue, which I have the really big rods of blue, which I think is a Chinese cobalt, and they come in the thicker and the long, like 4-foot rods. These I love to use for the backing on all of my pendants. It comes out really nice, and I don't have an issue with the cobalt glass coming from China. The other glass issues with it cracking and oh my gosh. I looked away for a second. You didn't see anything. Got a little bit of that cobalt blue on there. Hopefully that's not going to just stand out on us now. I guess I could clean it up real quick. Pull it off. Oops. Nothing to see here. Let me just round that back down. Accidentally tapped a little bit of blue right there on the edge as I was spinning it. I turned away to read your comment and realized that there wasn't any more. Alright, so now we're going to get this mulching. We're going to round this up. So we're going to gather some of the cobalt blue here. And like I was saying, I don't have any issues with the cobalt blue and with cracking and shattering or anything like that. But the greens from China have issues with. I also can get the large amber glass like this in the large rods with the 4-foot sections. And I really do like the amber as well. Alright, so we're just going to get this super molten. We're going to get the back of this pendant hot. Not molten, but hot. So we can get a nice attachment. Push it right to the center. And then I'm slowly going to just keep heating that cobalt and pushing it on to the back side. Trying to spread out the blue. And then once I get to a part where I can see that rod is now pushing in to that molten piece, that's when I'm going to cut it off here. So we pretty much spread out that whole piece to the edge of the clear, almost. Like pretty much got it there. And now we'll just heat it up and we'll do a little bit more of that. So just heat that up, make sure that's nice and rounded, get that off to the side. So now we got like this cool little, almost looks like a Jack-in-the-Box or something. A little honey top to a honey bear. That'd be fun to replicate a little miniature honey bear. Ooh, maybe I'll do a miniature honey bear for my miniature day. Maybe we'll do miniature Mondays. That'd be kind of fun. I think that miniatures are so big that I may actually start a new channel instead of the Glassman's world, it'll be like the Glassman's tiny universe or something. And we'll just dedicate it to nothing but miniature glass. Because I think that there's a huge market for it, for just miniatures alone. And if I tap into that market, I could probably make a lot of really awesome pieces for dollhouse builders, collectors, just miniature collectors, miniature enthusiasts. You know, full-on cookware sets and things like that. We're still going, right? Okay, so then we're going to flatten this. And as we flatten it, that's going to help to really spread it out. So I'm spreading out. If I need to push it over this way, I'll push it over. But we just try to keep it centered and allow it to flatten out very centered. So then when you spin it around, it looks pretty even. And then we just melt it all in as one. So this takes time to make these ones for sure. And I guess we're going to go 2 hours on this one. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. I am definitely going to take a break after this one. The kiln's up. I got a hoodie on. It's supposed to be this crazy winter storm coming through. And I'm like almost sweating here. I don't know where the cold is. There's no storm. It looks a little bit overcast and cloudy, but no real storm clouds. This is not going to drop any snow on us anytime soon. And then they're like hyping it up here in Albuquerque, and hyping it up and then saying, oh, we're going to get 2 to 4 inches. Like, that's nothing. Like, maybe if we're going to get like 18 inches, a foot of snow, then I could see like this be prepared kind of stuff. But I think we're going to be okay here in Albuquerque. Those on the East Coast, though, they may not fend so well. What? You're watching closely with your Meta Quest? That's cool. I can't use those because I need glasses, and those screens are so close that everything just all like out of focus. My nearsightedness is gone. I can't see anything really up close. I have to wear readers. And I guess I could wear readers and then wear the VR. But when I wear those, I get a headache. My eyes have to like readjust back to normal. I don't like that. It feels like it's going to make me lose my sight even quicker if I do that all the time. Alright, so we're slowly sinking it in. I can see one portion of it where the crease is going away. There's no like cavern, you know? There it goes. Slowly all coming out now. All becoming smooth around the edge. That little crease, that cavern's now, and it's all flattened. Now we just gotta keep holding it here and slowly bringing it down into a flat back. So let me show you what it looks like real quick. Caverns aren't all deep, it's just nice and smooth on the edge now. Alright, I'm going to flatten it again just to help out. We're going to definitely need to melt it down a little bit more. And then I'm going to watch also from this side too to make sure we're getting that nice and rounded. But you can see now from flattening that, that's how nice and smooth that got. I'm going to melt it down a little bit more. So today, yesterday I looked around and was checking out a few different bead shops, supply stores, jewelry stores here locally in Albuquerque, and got reminded of a couple that I was like, oh yeah, I need to definitely go in there. Haven't been there. I said I was going to go there, and I never popped in. And then there's another place called the Shroomery, which I guess they serve like mushroom tea and mushroom drinks, and not psychedelic but medicinal. Like they're doing the lion's mane and the chaga and oyster mushrooms and just good mushrooms for health. And they were interested in my mushroom pendants, and then I lost their business card, and I haven't spoke to them since last summer. So I want to go and check them out and see if they might be interested still in getting the mushrooms in. And I'm hoping that they can, they're at the point now where they could actually afford to purchase them at wholesale. Because I don't like to do consignment, because then I have to like keep track of who's got what and how many of what and stuff like that. All right, I hope this flower came out all that time. That's so much time. So now we got that flat back. It looks beautiful. It's nice and flat, nice and smooth. There's no tooling marks. We're gonna punch it up and get it off of the rod here. We're finally gonna be able to see the front side of this pendant and see if this, and also I'm gonna clean this up, make sure there is no red left over from earlier. Red will go clear. So I just want to be certain. So I'm just going to clean up the puntee. Eventually the puntee will shorten down, and you just got to get another one. All right, so it's attached to puntee. Try to get it on as straight as possible. Then do a flame cut right above on the rod and on the front part, or where the front of the pendant is going to be, the opposite side of the cobalt there. And at this part you may see a little bit of some silver fuming on there from earlier, as it may have flashed up onto. But this is going to get molten enough to where it should go away. And we're also going to pull some of the clear glass away. So at that point you can also clean it up. Alright, so then we got a lot of glass sticking off the tip there. We're going to get that molten, and like I said, we're going to clean it up here. We're just going to pull some of this off so we don't have to melt all of that down. The less glass, the less time it'll take to melt it down. And this is already a pretty big, pretty thick pendant. So we're just going to scrap this piece of glass right into that trash can there, or the coffee can on the floor. And I think that the kiln's probably a little bit hot, so I'm going to turn it down some. I don't have a digital pyrometer or any way to set the kiln, so I got to either like keep it on low or keep it on hot, and then watch the pyrometer that I have hooked up to it. It's an external, that's digital. It reads out digital, but I don't have a way of just keeping the kiln at once. All right, really hope this rose comes out. I can see the green going around the edges there. going all the way to the edges. So if this rose comes out, it's going to be the entire inside the whole of this pendant here, or the whole face of it, I guess. They have lenses that you need, just pop them in. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So they have like a nearsighted lens that you just put in right in front of the VR, and then it helps you see better. That's cool. I'm game now. Let's do it. Virtual reality glass blowing? Can you touch it? Just kidding. Hey, don't do that. Kids, ever. Don't try this at home. I'm a professional pyro. Don't do that. Alright, so now we got this front nice and lensed out, beautifully rounded. That looks great. I think there's like a little tiny flat spot, so I'm just like trying to perfect it, although it's probably fine. That looks great. Alright, and then we go underneath it. As always, make sure that it's nice and flat, nice and straight. And this will, so it looks okay. There's definitely a rose in there. I don't know if it's as we'll see what it looks like once it cools. Alright. I don't know if I want to do a flat bail like this one. These flat bails take some time. Maybe I'll just do a regular round bail and call it a day. Alright, we're gonna put it on this side right there. And figure out where we're gonna put it. Start to heat up that side there. Oh my gosh, and this teacup is right in the way again. Maybe I'll do a flat bail since I haven't shown you guys how I do one. So we just push that on nice and thick, and then pull it away a little bit, right? And we're just going to leave this big old knob on there. I want to have that knob nice and straight. And we're just going to cut it off. Now I'm holding this at an L shape. So it's a little bit weird having the glass like turning towards my face and away from me in this way. And trying to keep it spinning in an L shape. And we're going to leave this big old chunk, a portion of the cobalt, on the tip here, and we're going to round this out. So holding it at this angle is a little weird. Some people would prefer to move their punchy to the bottom instead of working it like this. I personally don't really, it doesn't bother me. It's kind of a fun little challenge to see if you can keep it on axis while you're working with this kind of an angle. And with a teacup to get in the way. It's extreme glass blowing here. Alright, so now we get that nice and molten, right? And then we're going to take our our tweezers here, and we're going to grab it. Put it back in the flame. That bottom portion is still extremely thick. We're going to really concentrate closest to where the where the loop is formed onto the pendant there. We have that flame right there. And then we're going to smash it again. Starting from there and then working your way down and just gradually flattening it. If you have a masher, a big head masher, it works better than this, a lot quicker, but that works too. You don't really need that extra tool. We're still going to need these. I was about to put them down, but we're going to need these. What we're going to do is we're going to heat up this whole thing and grab it from the tip, and we're going to stretch it. And we're going to do our best to keep it nice and straight. We're going to stretch it and pull it towards the front, doing our best to keep that nice and straight. So you want to look at it always and make sure. Hold it up at the right angles. And we're going to bring this around on itself. And go into the inside of the loop and then the outside. Then grab it and twist it, bring it around to itself, keeping that as straight as you possibly can. Sometimes it gets pulled towards you, so you got to make sure that you're not pulling it towards you, and you're going to compensate for that. And then attach it, bring it into the rest of the glass there. And then I can go in and use my tool like this, but you got to be careful to do it while it's mulching so you don't accidentally split. I don't have these jacks up with any wax or anything, so they're straight up jacks. You know, I got to be careful when I do that. I go in there and make sure that any stress marks get heated and melt this whole entire itself, making sure that that bottom pin is nice and going on both sides. And then usually what happens is this front part stays thick, but the back side, if you want, you can grab this and then pull it back with your tweezers, or you can just leave it as is. It's not going to do anything. And then just heat it up. At this point, we're going to just make sure that the hole gets smaller and the whole thing gets just gets stronger. And then on the edges, it kind of will like lip up some. So what I do is I'll use this to kind of help flatten it. For some reason, it like ribbons up. It like these ends will curl up on you. And so just using this to kind of just flatten it back down helps. And I'm sure there's other ways that people do these. I'm not the only one who makes these big old bales here that attach back to the back side of it. And I really want to sink in the cobalt together. So I'm going to go on both sides here and really melt that down. And then I'll go on both sides, heat it up, trying to get that flame through the center of the loop as well. And then just let it fall into itself and just allow your reamer to just fit in there and round it back up. And then you just keep working it as best you want, as small of the holes you want, but that's pretty much done. You can see the bell. I'm going to flip it over. And you can see the back side of it there. Go back in and heat it up because I allowed it out of the flame for a bit right there. So let me go back and just make sure this is nice and warm before I start to take it off the punty and then I crack the whole thing. Alright, and we'll get it off the punty here, and hopefully it just snaps off nice and clean, just like that. Boom. Get that in the flame, and keep that flame close to where the loop is, and slowly work it into that center there, and then slowly bring the flame towards the end pendant. And then you can reheat the whole thing without cracking it. You don't want to shock it. And just heat up that cobalt blue there. There's a little bit of a divot there, so I'm trying to melt it in. And is that a divot or is that a mark? Actually, that looks like it's just a mark. Okay. That's interesting. Alright, so there's the back side of it there. And you can see what I'm saying, how the loop, it kind of like tapers in a little bit thinner than the front side, which then the front has a lot thicker of a bell. And that rose came out okay. It's still not as detailed as I was hoping. Alright, let's get this in the kiln so it doesn't crack on us. And I'm going to let you guys go. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching as long as you have been here. It's been a long one today. Alright. I'm Dan the Glassman. Been watching the Glassman's World. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, we might do miniature Mondays and start doing some miniatures, so I appreciate it. Oh, Charles Gallagher, I see a new individual just came in. No idea what's going, brain just going ooh ah pretty. Right on. Well, thank you, Charles, for tuning in and watching. I appreciate it. I'm about to get take a little break here, get some water, and cool off because it is hot. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Love and blessings. I'm out.